Hey, nobody anticipated this news. Yandy Smith, the epitome of strength and the queen of hustle, is currently fighting for her life in the intensive care unit. However, things take a strange turn when, after doctors say she is in critical condition, they suddenly say she is doing better. Fans are shocked, close friends are demanding answers, and the entire love and hip-hop community is buzzing with rumors of a cover-up. Could it be that someone doesn't want the truth to come out? Is there a major scandal hiding behind those hospital doors? Most importantly, what if fans are demanding answers because the way the situation is developing is extremely suspicious? 1 minute, Yandy Smith is out having a good time, and the next, she is barely conscious and being rushed into intensive care. There are serious reports that Yandy Smith was taken to the intensive care unit under mysterious circumstances, and something just doesn't add up. At first, the doctors said she was in critical condition, but now they're saying she's getting better without realizing what they're hiding. What's really happening is that people who have no business being at the hospital have showed up. The turmoil began just a few hours earlier. At a high-profile industry event in Atlanta, where she was surrounded by executives, influencers, and celebrities, witnesses report that she was in a good mood, smiling, taking pictures, and networking. Everything seemed to be going as usual until 1:30 a.m. A few individuals noticed Yandy was holding on because she was acting strangely and the energy surrounding her changed. She was less conversational and appeared distracted and far away. As if she wasn't feeling well, she suddenly passed out and screams reverberated throughout the venue. Drinks spilled, people rushed forward, calling 911, and security pushed people back in an attempt to clear the area around her. Within minutes, paramedics arrived and were seen treating her on the floor. By the time they got her into the ambulance, she was barely conscious. As soon as the news broke on social media, everyone was talking about it. What happened? Why isn't anyone saying anything? Celebrities began tweeting mysterious messages with prayer emojis, but no one was providing any details. At that point, suspicions were raised as to why, at 3 a.m, no one was revealing the truth about what was being concealed. Enz Harris received the call when Yandy was formally transferred to the intensive care unit. He immediately dropped everything and hurried to the hospital like a man possessed. When he arrived, he appeared terrified and asked, "Where is she?" Hospital staff attempted to reassure him. Downed, but they weren't really answering his questions, sir. The doctors were doing everything they could to help him, so please, have a seat. His wife is fighting for her life, and that was all they had to say. The strangeness didn't end there. Gradually, more people began to arrive at the hospital, including some of Yandy's closest friends and family members, as well as some people who hadn't been in her life for years. First, Camilla arrived, which wasn't particularly shocking because she and Kimbella have had their ups and downs, but they've been close for years, so it might have seemed reasonable that she would be there. But then Erica Mina entered, and everyone asked why she was there. Knowing that Yandy and Erica have never been on the best of terms, the fact that Erica of all people showed up in the middle of the night raised a lot of eyebrows. It didn't stop there, though, as a few industry insiders who hadn't seen Yandy in years also began to arrive. Outside the hospital, reporters were assembling, fans were arriving, and paparazzi cameras were flashing non-stop. Then at precisely 4:07 a.m., an even stranger thing happened. A doctor left and whispered something to me and his whole face changed from panicked to furious in a split second. He stormed out of the hospital with his phone in hand, screaming, "What do you mean that doesn't make sense?" Cameras may have captured him pacing back and forth and arguing with whoever was on the other end of the call. When he finally hung up, his expression was completely shaken. What did they tell him who was on the call? Just when you thought things couldn't get any stranger, the hospital stepped up security, blocked off hallways, and stopped answering questions. Claimed, "So why was everyone being so secretive?" Something wasn't right, and as more information came to light, it became obvious that this situation was much bigger than anyone had anticipated. Hours had passed since Yandy was taken to the intensive care unit, and no one had provided a clear explanation of what had happened. The hospital staff had kept things vague, stating that she was stable but under observation. But what did that even mean? If she was really okay, why were people whispering in the hallways? Why had security suddenly increased, then and disappeared, and he was outside arguing on the phone? And fourth, looking furious, and then he disappeared. Where had he gone, and why wasn't he by your side? At that point, rumors started to circulate that this wasn't just a random medical problem. The problem is that too many people were showing up. At first, it was only family and close friends, but by 5 in the morning, more and more unexpected faces began to come. Some sources suggested Yandy had been poisoned, while others hinted that this was something much darker and more personal. Yes, you heard correctly, rich dollars have arrived. The rich. Dagos, this man had not been in Yandy's circle for years, but all of a sudden he was turning up in the middle of the night, as if he had an important hospital appointment, and he wasn't the only one behind him. Holding up Chrissy Lamon. The same Chrissy who squared off against Yandy in some of the most intense and dramatic altercations in the history of love and hip-hop. The same woman who once declared she would never again be in the same room as Yandy. Why was she here? The tension in that waiting area was high. Kimbella was seated off to the side and was obviously anxious. Erica appeared annoyed as she paced and checked her phone, and when Rich and Chrissy entered. Oh, you could cut the energy with a knife. For a long time, no one spoke, just long, icy looks as if they were prepared for combat. Then suddenly, Erica yelled, "What the hell are you all doing here?" Erica wasn't buying it, but Chrissy got in. "Where were you before all this happened? You've been a ghost for years." Rich walked up calmly but seriously, saying, "I need answers." But yelling won't get them any quicker, so why don't you just relax, Erica? Camilla attempted to defuse the tension, but it was too late. If Yandy knew you were present, she would laugh in your face. Erica was already heated, and you of all people want to talk about relaxing. Chrissy rolled her eyes, but before she could get fired back, the elevator doors opened, and guess who came out? He didn't seem like himself. His face was pale, his eyes were crimson, and he appeared to have just seen a ghost. The room became silent. Rich came forward to ask, "What's going on? And what did they tell you?" When he finally spoke, the whole room tensed up, and Kimbella's eyes tightened as Maisie gulped hard, as if he didn't even know how to put it into words. Waited longer to find out who was lying about what. Dee wiped a hand across his face, appearing worn out, irritated, and outright angry that the hospital's doctors weren't telling us the whole truth at this time. Erica crossed her arms. "So what did they tell you?" "Because last we heard, she was stable, and from her bitter chuckle, that's what they want us to believe. However, they simply moved her to a different floor without telling me." And there was silence before turmoil. Kimbella got up. "But what?" "They moved her without notifying you," and Mrs. nodded. "When I questioned why, they said it was a precaution, but when I asked what?" Thus, they evaded the query. In spite of everything, Chrissy appeared truly worried. Why would they move her and not explain why? That's when Rich spoke up because they were hiding something. Let's face it, Rich isn't the most reliable person in the world, but the way he said it made everyone uneasy. I turned to him. "What do you know, man?" Rich hesitated, looking around the room as if he wasn't sure whether or not to say it, and then he did it. "This isn't an accident, everyone." Paused. I don't understand why. Kimbella's jaw fell wide and Rich leaned in, lowering his voice as if he didn't want some people to be around. "Yandy didn't just faint. She was fine the entire night. You believe someone did this to her? That doesn't make sense." Mrs. shook his head. A man with the true paranoia began when Rich interrupted him, asking who had something to gain. If this wasn't merely a medical issue, then someone in that room knew more than they were stating, and you will all be shocked by what happened next. Because the truth will be revealed, and it's more repulsive than anyone could have ever imagined. The tension in the waiting room was so high that it felt like a bomb was going off. Misa clenched his fists and looked at Rich. What the hell are you trying to say, man? Just spit it out. Rich took a deep breath and locked eyes with Mezzy. I'm saying somebody wanted Yandy out of the way, and I got a damn good idea why the whole room froze. Erica was the first to yell. Oh my god, you're not going to sit here and act like you're some detective. You haven't been around for years, and now you have theories, but Rich wasn't supporting them. I can see what's in front of my face without anyone else being nearby. Assume again. Yandy has been making tremendous moves, and you all assume that everyone is thrilled about it. Kimbella gulped hard. You're saying this is planned, like somebody actually tried to. Rich nodded, and M became enraged. Who would do this to her? Rich said, raising his fists. Rich took a big breath, his face dead serious, and then he finally spoke. I don't have proof. Mice grabbed him by the collar, and I don't care about proof of who did this or you. My mother, you're out of your mind. Juvie blinked and died silently. Own mind, but Rich didn't falter in any way. She had been talking a lot about Yandy for months, and now suddenly she's in the intensive care unit for unknown reasons. You figure it out. That's my mother. She may not always like Yandy, but she would never when I last glanced. Chrissy had her arms crossed because she was ranting about how Yandy was corrupting you and stealing her baby boy away. That woman saw Yandy as a threat, and you know what people do when they eliminate threats. DC was shaking his head, but his expression had changed to one of turmoil. Because he knew in his heart that his mother had never truly accepted Yandy. She had always been resentful and constantly stoking drama, but would she really go that far before disappearing like clockwork? When N's phone rang and he took it out, he was horrified to see Judy's name on the screen. Everyone watched as he hesitated, his thumb hovering over the answer button, then looked at the group, their eyes full of fear, doubt, and suspicion. Then slowly he answered, Ma, her voice coming through the line low and shaky. We need to talk, baby. The room fell silent, and he tightened his grip on the phone as he discussed what Judy had taken. An inhale, everyone's blood ran cold, and I didn't intend for this to occur. I never intended for her to be hurt, and I swear on my life that I never wanted this moment to feel like the room was spinning. I had someone put something in her drink to make her weak so that she would stop for a while. But I swear, baby, I didn't know it would go this far. N's jaw tightened, and she broke down. What did you do, May? Didn't realize that it would send her to the hospital. And then the entire room burst as DC staggered backwards, as if he had been punched in the stomach. Oh my God, Erica's mouth fell open, and Kimbella's hand shot straight to her mouth. Chrissy shook her head. I knew that she was dubious, but this moment felt like he was out of air. Do you hear me now? You poisoned my wife. Judy was crying, but I didn't mean that. He ended the call without saying anything else, and then it was war. He turned to face the group, his eyes flaming, and said, I swear on everything that she's going to pay for this. Rich crossed his arms. So what's the move? Because this isn't just family drama anymore. Currently, this is unlawful. Mies nodded, she will be charged. When a doctor finally entered the room, everyone looked to him, holding their breath, and the doctor cleared his throat, appearing unsure. I don't care if she's my mother. What she did was attempted murder. We must discuss Yandy's situation, Mr. Harris. DC stepped forward. Is she awake and doing okay? She's stable, but there are complications, the doctor moaned. When N's stomach twisted, what complications are you referring to? The doctor looked around before turning back to Agnes so they could speak alone. At that point, everyone knew what he was going to say. Awful, and you all know the truth.